The Karen Reed trial got rolling today in the courtroom, baby. It was unbelievable. I'm telling you, there were fireworks in there like you wouldn't believe. I mean, opening statements yesterday, day two action today. Good news for Karen Reed. Her lawyer, Alan Jackson, was on fuego. Bad news, the new prosecutor, there's a guy that replaced the prosecutor from the first trial. The new guy is much better. Hank Brennan, a formidable guy, represented James Whitey Bulger back in the day. He's putting on a better show. Quick synopsis here, if you have not caught up on the Karen Reed trial. The first trial was in 2023, and it revolved around the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, who prosecutors claim was struck by Karen in her SUV on a snowy night of January 28th, 2022. She was accused of three things: second-degree murder, manslaughter while operating under the influence of alcohol, and leaving the scene. Karen Reed pled guilty to all, Karen Reed pled not guilty to all charges. Her defense team argued that she was a victim of an elaborate framing, suggesting that O'Keefe was involved in an altercation in the house of his cop buddies where he went after a night of drinking at the bars. He went to the after party, and they assume a fight happened there. The trial ended in a mistrial in July 2024, last summer. But the fact that the judge did not relay, or the cop who served as foreman of that jury did not decipher, that the jury was unanimous in their not guilty verdicts of two of the counts. There was a unanimous vote saying she absolutely did not intentionally murder the guy, and she did not flee the scene. Was she drunk and possibly hit him with the car? They were hung on that. So, kind of shady. They declared a mistrial. And now all three counts, even though two of them were completely exonerated, all three counts are back on the docket again. So yesterday, it begins all over. Hank Brennan, the new prosecutor, laid out his case that Karen was drunk with a blood alcohol content, which was estimated to be between 0.135% and 0.292%, which is very big for a small woman. At the time of the incident, she was drunk, they say, and she was angry because she and her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, had been fighting. Well, Alan Jackson, Karen's defense lawyer, laid out what felt to me as more than enough to at least create reasonable doubt. I mean, if not the foundation for a whole new murder trial featuring whoever actually inflicted the blunt force trauma to the back of this young guy's head, as well as a black eye to the front. Oh, and the violent scratches up his arm, which has to be the dog in the house. No part of a car is putting scratch marks all the way up. You know, if you're backing, I don't care what speed you're backing into somebody, scratch marks all over? I don't think so. There's so much here. I mean, there's a tail light, at 5 in the morning, they find the guy, and they find her car at 5 in the morning. It's got one crack in the tail light. The car was taken to a garage run by the state troopers. And in that garage, there's someone back there tinkering with the tail light. It looks like they're on the driver's side, but then it's revealed by the defense lawyers that video was reversed. It's actually on the passenger side, the real, which is exactly where the damage was done. When they found his body at 6 a.m., no signs of hypothermia. The first on the scene was Canton local police, and they said all they could find was cocktail glass shards. Later on, when the shady state trooper, Michael Proctor, took over, he finds all kinds of broken taillight pieces. Might he have gotten them in the garage where he was actually seen back there, tampering with the light? Well, today, Alan Jackson sliced and diced this woman, Kerry Roberts, a friend of John O'Keefe's, and the woman, Karen Reed, frantically called at 5 o'clock in the morning when she woke up and discovered her boyfriend hadn't come home. Together with one more woman, this woman, Jen McCabe, the three of them drove around that morning looking for John, and ultimately they found him dead in the snow on the front yard of Boston police officer Brian Albert's house, where he had been left by Karen Reed. Kerry Roberts this woman on the stand was a prosecution witness today, I think they had higher hopes for. Okay, joining us right now is an unbelievable crime reporter from the Boston Herald. We love the guy. When you hear the name Flint McColgan, believe me, you're thinking old, grizzled, reporter. He's a young, fresh daisy right there, sharp as he can be, in the courtroom the last 2 days. Flint, thank you so much. We're following all of your reporting, and you're doing a great job. Who prevailed on opening day, prosecution, defense?
They both put their best foot forward there. I have to say that you know it comes down to three words for both sides. So for Hank Brennan's opening, it was all about Karen Reed allegedly saying, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him" at the scene that first responders allegedly heard her here, and in response, Alan Jackson, he framed it as the three things jurors need to take away are that there was no collision, there was no collision, there was no collision. And instead that Karen Reed is, the victim of a huge frame-up job involving corrupt police and prosecutors.
Seems to be a pretty, unanimous belief that the new prosecutor, Hank Brennan, is way better than the former prosecutor. So would you say this was a better day one for the prosecution than it was the first time around?
They definitely have different styles. Not in the business of having opinions, but they have different styles. And I will say that it's moving a lot faster. So we had 6 days of first responders all testifying that it was snowing outside, practically. And now we had one responder doing practically all the shorthand for that. And then we're on to Carrie Roberts, and then Peggy O'Keefe, John O'Keefe, the victim's mother, took the stand today as well. So we're moving right along. Seems to be much faster and less boring repetition.
I'm fascinated with John O'Keefe's mom, Peggy O'Keefe. She seems to be, I don't know whether she didn't like Karen Reed from the beginning and thought she was a bad match for her boy or whatever, but she's complete with all the evidence that, that the defense team has laid out. It's amazing. The mother doesn't seem to think at all. Nothing seems to be registering with her that it's a possibility that something happened in the house with these, other cops and a fight took place and, that maybe they're responsible. Does she seem to be open to that at all?
I can't speak to what she feels deep down or anything, but certainly taking the stand, it was very emotional. And in fact, there was no cross-examination. Alan Jackson just got up and said he's sorry for her loss and said he had no questions for her. But so the thing is that, yeah, so
that's
she has always been on the prosecution side of the thing as far as we know. She doesn't give public statements. We don't really get to know her inner workings, but they do not seem friendly to Karen Reed. And in fact, on the stand today, Peggy O'Keefe said that when she went to the hospital to go check on her son the night, when he was there, that Karen Reed was there and had asked her, "Is he dead? Is he dead, Peg?" And apparently Peggy O'Keefe just asked a nurse, "What is she doing here?" So
yeah,
it shows she wasn't happy to see Karen Reed, at least.
And we get the sense, right, that their relationship was rocky. They had a rocky relationship no matter what. But at the same time, another man that was in that house when Karen dropped off John O'Keefe and he went to the after party there, she did not go with him. But inside was another police officer named Brian Higgins, with whom Karen Reed had been texting up until a few days before, and they had been openly flirty. "I think you're hot. I want to, come see me, come over. Have you always liked me? Yeah, I liked you from jump." And then she ghosted him.
And even kissed.
And they kissed
outside of a football viewing party. So
right. So the relationship was rocky, and she was also flirting with another guy inside. It doesn't seem like anyone's probing into what might be, some friction between the two men. The guy dating her and the guy who wants to date her.
Yeah, it's certainly something that the defense has brought up. I mean, in the last trial, there was they didn't outright say that Brian Higgins, wanted to get O'Keefe out of the way or something, but I think that they heavily implied it. That he felt hurt that he was ghosted, and he was like, maybe I had a chance with her, and maybe a fight occurred there that led to John O'Keefe's death. That's what they talked about in the last one. I think they're gearing up to also introduce that as we move along in the trial.
Is there any way, because that's what's new about the defense this time, right? The judge is actually allowing something called third-party culprit defense strategy, right? Does this mean that Alan Jackson and the defense lawyers for Karen Read are allowed to implicate and who they think might have been the murderer?
Well, it's actually largely the same as the first trial. They weren't allowed to outright name third-party killers in the opening statements, but they're allowed to develop it over testimony over time.
Shape it.
Secondary idea, yeah. And so, they're already battle tested from the first trial. They probably, are looking at what worked, what didn't work, and I think their theory is going to have more of an edge this time around.
What is the most compelling thing of all? I see a mountain of favorable evidence for the defense. And I see the fact that this Brian Albert guy who owned the home and his buddy Brian Higgins, the two big Brians, they exchange a phone call in the 2 a.m. hour to each other. They each say it was a butt dial. They both got rid of their phones a day before the state issued a data protection order, like you have to preserve your phones. They both destroyed their phones.
Brian Higgins at a military base, no less.
Brian Higgins at a military base. There's just a mountain of they got rid of the dog. There were scratch marks all over John O'Keefe's arm when he landed, clearly of a dog. They tested the scratch marks for DNA, and they have pig DNA on them. Dogs eat lots of pork. I mean, that's a problem. There seems to be
but
to you
no
jumps
dog
out?
DNA though. That's
Dog
the
DNA,
there.
just
yeah.
pig DNA. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a little confusing. And then also,
And then the woman,
getting,
Jennifer McCabe. I mean, this woman texts.
Yeah.
I mean, she searches at 2:00 in the morning around the same time the boys are on the phone, butt dialing each other. She gets on and searches "how long to die in the cold," meaning how long to die in the cold. Why would you do that?
And we saw Hank Brennan and Jackson already queuing that up while they aren't bringing it up right now because Jennifer McCabe has not yet been called. She is already all over this trial. I mean, cross-examination of Carrie Roberts today was just heavily suggesting that, she was in Jennifer McCabe's sphere of influence over this. And Jennifer McCabe is central to the defense's theory that other people did kill John O'Keefe. And if she did make that Google search at 2:24 in the morning, that would mean that she knew he was out there in the snow well before he was found at around 6 a.m.
So Jennifer McCabe,
yeah.
Everyone's looking at she's the wife of Matt McCabe, who's one of the guys in the house. And so she would be looked at by the defense possibly as the ringleader. If there's a conspiracy of about 12 to 13 law enforcement professionals and their family members, their kids, EMTs, that is challenging alone for the defense. We have to believe that somehow this massive group of people are all telling the same story. Nobody has broken or cracked on the stand, and that the woman holding it all together, the madam, the mama, is this Jen McCabe.
Yeah, and it's even closer than that. I mean, she's Brian Albert's sister-in-law. I mean, her sister is Brian Albert's wife. But yeah, it was alluded to today by Daniel Whitley, one of the Canton firefighter paramedics, who was also on the stand. He just said Canton's a small town. We all kind of know each other. So that. I think the prosecution's going to lean into that as a way to trying to rebut the idea that, oh, look at how interconnected everyone is. Well, the prosecution's trying to show that, well, everyone's interconnected in a small town like Canton.
Flint McColgan from the Boston Herald covering the Karen Read retrial. Flint, how long, any gut sort of feeling on how long this might go this time around? Last time was 3 months.
Yeah, it was like 9 weeks last time. Judge Canoni's been predicting 8 weeks during jury selection. That's what she was telling them. But if this fast pace continues, since we didn't have 6 days of first responders saying largely the same testimony, I mean, if we are working at a faster clip, I'm hoping it won't last nearly as long. So we'll see.
I got it, man. And the media scene in Boston must be bonkers. Is everybody
It
all?
is.
Yeah.
It is. We're under a different system. I used to wake up at 3:30 in the morning to try to grab a seat to get into the courtroom. Now we're on a randomizer system. I'm in this week and I'm in next week. We'll see going forward. So,
I'll tell you what, if I was a judge, if I was running my own courthouse, there would never be a trial without the great Flint McColgan from the Boston Herald in the sea.
well, thank you very much.
Flint, hey, stay in touch, will you? We'll keep up with you and appreciate all your great work. Thanks, man.
Okay, thanks for having me on.
He's good stuff. Google his work, man. Flint McColgan he's all over this trial. It's incredible. I mean, I'm so taken with this whole thing. I can't believe. I just don't know how the prosecution gets out this. They're saying she said, I did it, but you have no recordings of I did it. Alan Jackson put one recording up today that seemed, it was so faint, and he asked the witness, the friend who was with her, like, can you hear her say, something to the effect of, is he dead? Is he dead? What is it? And she's like, no, I didn't hear it. But if they can get some kind of audio forensic guy to get in there and boost the sound on that, and that's what she said, that blows a hole. They really, that's all they're going with. The fact that she said I did it. And yet there's no evidence. It's a he said, they said.